Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shawn Thompson. I'm a spiritual counselor and psychic medium. I have been in practice for over 20 years helping people just like you. I've given countless readings throughout my lifetime and would like to share some very important information with you today. Today I will talk about a very sensitive and controversial topic. As a result of connecting with many individuals who were successful in taking their own lives, I feel it's important for you to understand a few things about the topic of suicide as it's viewed from across the veil. Now, most people shy away from this topic because it is difficult to talk about and they don't want to say anything wrong or give incorrect information, or they think that by talking about it, it might give someone the idea of doing it. I can tell you that by actually talking about it, not only can you educate yourself, but you could possibly save the life of someone who is contemplating it, and you can definitely help yourself through the grieving process if you have been on the other side of it. Now, let me share a little bit of background with you and my experience with suicide. Now, I've never attempted it, nor have I ever had anyone close to me commit or attempt it. However, I have had some secondary experiences with it that allows me to share information that I feel is valuable, needless to say. I was for many years part of the suicide assessment team at the ER in my hometown. I would conduct intakes of people who felt suicidal and a few who had threatened and or attempted. I actually had the grueling task of deciding how serious the situation was and whether or not they needed to be admitted into a psychiatric unit. This was both difficult and terrifying because I felt as if I was responsible for the person's life, and to a degree I was, their safety anyway. I have also had countless sessions where I have read for individuals who have lost someone from suicide. It left them devastated, confused, and in a lot of pain. Lastly, when I was in my 20s, I had an experience where I walked up on someone who had just committed suicide. They had taken their life by asphyxiation, and I was the one that had to call 911 to attempt to help them. But unfortunately, it was too late. I stayed with this person while the EMS performed CPR and could actually see and feel the soul rise out of the body while they were working on him. Needless to say, I have had enough experience with it to be able to share some valuable information with you. I'd first like to emphasize that suicide is not something that should ever be taken lightly, and if you know someone who is, maybe thinking about it, talking about it, hinting about it, please seek help. There are other options out there and people who can help and want to help. For those of you who may be contemplating suicide yourself and are watching this video right now, which I'm sure there's a handful, I want to express a deep sense of caring and support for you. Please reach out for help, call 911, or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Do whatever you need to do to help yourself in this moment, because your soul has equipped you with all of the coping skills to work through it this lifetime and choose a different path. This is one of the reasons why you're watching this right now, I bet. Now, in this video, there are 5 points that I want to go over related specifically to what happens to your loved one when they commit suicide. In part 2, I'll discuss soul contracts, free will, the various types of suicide, and how the living is best served in learning to cope with such a tragedy. So stay tuned for that one as well. Now, before we dive deep into the heart of the matter, I want to emphasize that the information I'm going to share with you is comprised of what loved ones across the veil who have committed suicide have shared with me in sessions, my experience of crossing over into the light back in 2006, and detailed information channeled from my higher self for clarification. It is the result of my 20 plus years as a medium, a counselor, and a spiritual being. As a disclaimer, please take with you what resonates and remember that life on the other side is so different and much more quantum than what we experience with our 10% limited capacity to understand the truth of our existence. We live in a dualistic world that is full of judgment, opposites, and fear. This is not where you originated from, nor is it where you return to when you die. It's the furthest thing from the truth, as I'll let your loved ones share with you today. Now, as much comfort and reassurance that I'm about to share with you regarding this sensitive and heart-wrenching topic, I do want to emphasize that I am not trying to paint a Pollyanna picture or romanticize the outcome of this volatile and final act in taking one's life. There are consequences both for the living and the dearly departed that need to be taken into consideration across the board. We'll talk more about that here shortly. Now, let's kind of dive deep right into the 5 major points that I'm always asked about in relation to what happens to my loved one when they commit suicide. First topic. In all of the readings I have done, not once did a loved one come through and say that they were in hell or purgatory because of their actions. Contrary to what religion teaches, this is shown to be untrue. They are very much in a loving and supportive vibration where they can heal and receive what their soul needs to restore to a high vibration and continue their journey onward. They're met by all their loved ones as well. Now, when a tragedy such as suicide occurs, the soul, after passing, is given a life review so that they may understand the impact their actions had on their future lifetime, as well as the people they loved. There is no guilt, judgment, or sadness, really. Those are human emotions created by the ego to implement a moral compass, if you will, while we are living a human experience, unconscious of our contracts and lessons we are playing out. It's more like you're watching a movie scene, emotions detached, so that you can understand and see the impact of your decisions and actions as they relate to others. It's as if you're in school learning where you fell short or what other options you could have exercised for future reference and to help you choose higher your next go-around. The third point is that your loved ones are offered extreme love and support initially and throughout their soul development or life review, as their spirit reintegrates back into complete consciousness and spiritual vibration after suicide. This provides compassion and reassurance for their level of understanding regarding their actions, and they release any egoic residual feelings from their human experience. The fourth point, they are given an opportunity to help others still living who are potentially going through the same thing as they went through to reduce karma and learn or teach from their own experiences. Once they have developed their understanding of the impact of their own actions, they are offered the experience of recreating their next lifetime. And fifth, they work really hard to connect with their loved ones afterwards to help in the healing process and emotional recovery that their loved one has had to endure because of their actions. They want to come through with messages of love and forgiveness, sympathy, and support. They will oftentimes ask for forgiveness from their loved ones still living for the sake of helping them move forward and recover from their devastating decisions. In this case, if you have been called to connect with them after a suicide, I highly encourage you schedule a session. Now, everything I have mentioned so far is very loving and comforting, so for you to hear and for you to know. This is not to say that the spiritual realm advocates for suicide as a way out of the struggles of life and that it has no implications or consequences. What I am saying is that a soul is loved and welcomed home regardless of the way they die or their actions on earth. There is no judgment other than from your egoic mind as you experience it here on earth. We'll talk more about the consequences and lessons that result from suicide more in the next video. I hope this was enlightening, reassuring, and comforting. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to schedule a private reading to connect with someone who has passed, please see my website at innerhealing.biz.